Hey, everybody, it's Jim here with the Soul of the Unexplained. And with me, as always, is my super awesome co host and co creator of the Soul of the Unexplained, Mr. Roger Stokes. Roger, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing well. Welcome, everybody. We are super excited. We have a lot to talk about tonight, Jim.
We do. And there's all kinds of things we can talk about. We can talk about tacos, we could talk
Funny.
about bunnies, we could talk about all kinds of things. But I have a feeling we're going to be talking about PhenomeCon.
That's right. We are going to talk about PhenomeCon, and we have some great guests and friends on our show tonight to help us talk about all things PhenomeCon that just happened this past week. So, with
That
that, Jim, you introduce our guests.
No, I won't do it. You can't make me do it.
I'm going to twist your
So,
arm, and you're going to do it right now.
fine, I'll do it right now. To start off with, one of our most esteemed colleagues, the man that I like to refer to as the gold standard in podcasting, specifically when it comes to The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch and The Curse of Oak Island. And now we can also include Expedition Bigfoot into this wonderful gamut of shows that this wonderful gentleman and human being covers in his podcast. Of course, I'm talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jeff Freeman of the J Free 906 podcast. Jeff, how are you doing, buddy?
Wow, I don't know if I can fill those shoes that you just laid out for me there, but I tell you what, thank you very much. That was something. I'm doing fantastic. I'm still catching up a little bit from an amazing week in Vernal, Utah. But yeah, I'm doing great. It took me a couple of days to kind of get back on track, and we had the Expedition Bigfoot podcast last night for episodes 4 and 5, and we're rolling on. But yeah, I'm doing very, very well.
Awesome, awesome. Always a pleasure to have you join us, Jeff. And of course, we would be remiss if, Roger, if we didn't get the band back together, at least partially. And so, with that, it is my pleasure to welcome not only my Hitchhiker bandmate, but also my favorite Denver Broncos fan in the whole wide world. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. John Neiberger. John, how are you doing, buddy?
I am doing absolutely spectacularly, except for all the PhenomeCon withdrawal symptoms. Yeah,
Which
it's
which is
bad here.
which is a very real thing, and we will talk
Very
about
real.
that in just a moment. And
Yep.
then to round out our awesome panel for the evening, we have the beautiful, the always hip and stylish Mae De Agua, who also joined us at PhenomeCon for Friday and Saturday. And Mae, how are you doing? So good to see you again.
Thanks. I'm doing pretty good. I had so much at PhenomeCon that I am still roaming the American Southwest. And so I haven't yet had the chance to go through withdrawal yet. But I have to go home eventually. So I guess I will because, well, I've hit a lot of thrift shops and vinyl places and some plant things. And so I'm about to run out of space. So I guess that's the reason I have to go home.
Right
That
on.
family who needs, but yeah.
And you and I got to meet for the very first time at PhenomeCon, and I gotta say it was awesome to give you a big old gym-sized hug when I saw you and your husband Kevin there at PhenomeCon. One of my favorite takeaways from PhenomeCon was getting to meet you in person.
Same here. I just, I know I probably just every once in a while would just give you that random hug because had to get as many as I could before I'd leave. But that was pretty awesome. I think that was the highlight of my entire trip so far. Shh, don't tell some people that I've stayed with and gone to dinner with. But yeah, absolutely.
Right on. So, folks, before we get started, I thought that we would take just a quick moment. We have a milestone that our friend Jeff Freeman accomplished recently that I feel is well worth celebrating, and that is the J Free 906 podcast reached 1.5 million. Okay, that's 1.5 million viewers fairly recently. And so, Jeff, I wanted to tip my ball cap to you and offer you on behalf of myself and the Soul of the Unexplained, and I'm sure all of your amazing subscribers and all the folks that tune in to your podcast and the Soul of the Unexplained. Just wanted to offer you our sincerest, heartfelt congratulations, because it could not happen to a nicer or more deserving guy as far as the amazing work that you do with the J Free 906 podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to not only get to know you as a friend and as a wonderful human being, but to also be a part from time to time of that amazing J Free 906 podcast, and to watch you grow that over the last couple of years as well. And again, from my end, absolutely excited and just couldn't, again, it could not happen to a better guy, and so happy to see you reach that milestone.
Well, thank you, Jimm, very much for that. I tell you, it was one of those goals that you set out there, and I finally, I say we finally got there. There's so many people that are behind the scenes that help make this all happen. And I did recently, because it kind of made me reflect on a few things, and I did recently put in a post in our Facebook group page, the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond hyphen Skinwalker Ranch Facebook group, and I talked about the kind of the road briefly. I tried to keep it as brief as I could, but talk about the road and the people that have made it all possible. Talking about, Linda and I, of course, splitting off, and then having Jack Campbell join with us, and then Tom Burns when Jack was falling a little bit, unable to keep up the pace of it and all that. We had Tom Burns come on board. That was fantastic. And then, of course, John Edwards, some of the people, but Linda and Jan and Tom and you, and we got to get Roger on here too some of these days. I mean, every time we try to do something, Roger's unavailable or whatever, but we got to get Roger in there with us. But it really is a testament to the people that I have befriended. This has been a remarkable journey for us, and this hobby has become somewhat of a job, but it's one of those kind of jobs that you love, right? So it's not a job if you love it. And it really has taken off, and I couldn't be happier with the response that we're getting from the viewers and the fans of these TV shows that we talk about. But thank you very much. I appreciate that. And again, now that I've met Mae and John, and we're going to have to just have a bash on our side of the of the internet
Yeah.
when we get an opportunity. But thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Right on. And again, the way that you present your podcast, I love how well researched you are, whether you're doing one on Oak Island or the recent Expedition Bigfoot ones. One of my favorite things is when you have Mike Owen on there, who brings that great wealth of knowledge, and he has, that I believe he's an engineer in real life, right? And he just is able to talk to all of the subject matter from that kind of a viewpoint, with that engineer's insight, if you will, which really helps to explain some of the science and some of the technology that we see, particularly on The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch and Expedition Bigfoot. So it's great to see that. And of course, Shannon DeSalvo, I just cannot say enough nice things about Shannon. She is another person that just has a wonderful depth of knowledge and insight and perspective whenever she is on talking about The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And just everybody that you mentioned, of course, Linda, who was like the best moderator ever. Cannot say enough good things about Linda, despite the fact that she's a Chiefs fan.
Oh,
I
really?
know, right?
but that notwithstanding, we love Linda dearly, and of course Jan and all of the wonderful people in your community. It is truly much like the Skinwalker Ranch insider community that Roger and I are always extolling the virtues of. The community that you have when you do your live streams on your YouTube channel, the people that are always in the chat are just some of the most wonderful people to connect with, and I've made some very good, long-lasting friends through that community. So again, Jeff, you can tell you're definitely doing something right, and it's just been a privilege and an honor to be a part of this and watch it all unfold. So here is to another 1.5 million and many, many, many more beyond that as you continue to grow the J Free 906 podcast. So kudos and cheers to you, my friend.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that a lot. Yeah, that Mike Owen for sure, Seth Bridges, Shannon, and that's been the blessing. I talk about this quite frequently, but that has been the blessing, as you well know now from doing your own podcast, the people that you come in contact with. I have been blessed by meeting such wonderful, wonderful people and lots of nice new friends now. As this grows and grows, and that's been the blessing of it, is really the meeting of the people, and you never know where it's going to lead. I mean, you meet somebody new, and the next thing you know, you're going off and you're being invited, or you're having new opportunities open up all the time, and it's just been wonderful. So thank you again very much. Appreciate that.
You are most welcome. So, folks, let's talk about why we're all here. And as much as I would like it to be the fact that we're here for tacos, because we all know how much I love tacos, and we did get to have some tacos at PhenomeCon, which we'll talk about in a moment. But we're here to talk about the amazing event that was PhenomeCon 2024, which of course took place in Vernal, Utah, from September 4th to September 7th. And so, Roger, I thought that I would start that we'd get things started here talking about our very first night in Vernal, which of course is an event that you and I usually try to host every year of PhenomeCon, to kind of like do a pre-conference celebration of sorts for the Skinwalker Ranch insider community. And in the years past, including this year, it's something that we've called the informal Skinwalker Ranch Insider Meetup. And we've recently decided to change the name of it moving forward, because everybody that's attended one of these meetups that we do has always talked about how it's almost like attending a family reunion, because the insider community is such a close-knit community of people that you forge really strong friendships and connections with. And in a lot of instances, you only get to see them in person once a year if you're lucky. And that happens to be usually at PhenomeCon. And so moving forward, Roger, you and I have decided to kind of rechristen the name of our meetup that we host every eve of PhenomeCon. And we're now going to call it the Skinwalker Ranch Insider Family Reunion. So, Raj, just talk to us a little bit about what this year's meetup was like and what made it so unique. I understand the weather didn't cooperate entirely, so do tell.
Yeah, well, it was great. So we got out to the Vernal Brewing Company, and I have to shout out the Vernal Brewing Company just for the fact that they are such gracious hosts, and they had everything set up for us outside to accommodate right around 80 people. So yeah, Jim and I, we got there, and it was great. We were all ready to go. We actually had people arrive there early, so we were able to start getting people checked in. I brought this beautiful black clipboard that had everyone's names on it. And it actually was really nice because we could just check people off coming in. Now, the one crazy thing, if you've never been there, the Vernal Brewing Company and their parking lot, it's a pretty small parking lot. And where the outdoor patio is, you can walk right up into the outdoor patio. So we were a little panicked there at first because we thought the line, because we want people to go through the entrance to the Vernal Brewing Company, but that didn't end up happening. A lot of people, both insiders and non-insiders, right, were just walking right up through the parking lot, right into this great place where everything was set up. And so between you, myself, and Mr. John Neiberger, we were scrambling around just to make sure that everyone that was on the guest list was there, accounted for, and that people had seats. And so the one thing that we always, joke about with Skinwalker Ranch and being, getting Skinwalkered, something ominous or something will happen. Well, on the horizon, we had some really, really dark storm clouds. And I know in talking with people that were driving to Vernal, they went through some massive storms there, which are a little bit crazy. But our weather apps, all of our weather apps said, there was no rain. It was going to be, nice and sunny. And that just didn't happen. So As we got underway, I kid you not, the wind just kicked up. And this wasn't just a light breeze. This was a really strong, right around 15 miles an hour wind type gusts. Now, all the stuff that was out there are, we had like the paper plates, plastic cups, some of the plastic utensils, a little bit nicer and everything like that, right, to accommodate everything. Well, all that just got upended with the storm. So not only did we have the wind, we had papers flying around, running around trying to pick up all the cups and the drinks, with the water and everything. It started to rain. And so we had to gather everybody in. And, this is one good thing I will say about large groups of people is that everyone works together. And there was actually a patio out there that actually was covered. And so people migrated there, and the Vernal Brewing Company was really, really nice about letting the vast majority of people sit there. A few people braved the rain and stayed out there. But once that storm passed, and it lasted, I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes, we got people through it. We got food coming out. We got people talking. And it was great. And I think the great treat that we got there was an actual full rainbow, but it was a double rainbow that people were able to take pictures of. And so again, we had so many amazing people show up. And to our surprise, we had the Strattons, Jay Stratton and his family show up, Michelle and John. And we were able to host them and sit down, and it was great to see Michelle Stratton, who is one of the admins on the Skinwalker Ranch Insider page. She was able to go around, and I have to say, Jim, and she was the life of the party.
That's
She went around.
that is Michelle. Michelle, one of the moderators of the Skinwalker Ranch Insider page, is absolutely the life of the party. And Jay even remarked to me while we were there that she was the real rock star. We were thinking that everybody would be flocking around Jay, and instead everybody was just oh, got to go and say hello to Michelle. Got to go shake Michelle's hand and talk to Michelle. And so Michelle was the true rock star of the meetup that we had the night before. But as you said, Roger, Vernal Brewing Company were absolutely amazing to work with yet again. The food there, if you've ever been there, folks, is just extraordinary. It's amazing. It tastes so good. And of course, they do serve tacos, and that's what I ordered. I had the pulled pork tacos, and I was one of those people that braved sitting at the table as the raindrops were falling. And Raj, I think some of those wind gusts were actually probably more powerful than 15 miles per hour, because if you remember, we had those 12-ounce glasses that were filled with ice and water, and the wind was strong enough to blow those over, to the extent that it blew my water completely into my lap, and so it looked like I had a little accident, or perhaps got too excited. But as you said, Roger, it all ended up being a fantastic event. We had great food, got to meet a lot of insiders that I had never met before, some of whom came from as far away as England, that attended the meetup. So once again, it was a great way to kick off the PhenomeCon experience. And Jeff, you were there as well. What were your impressions of the meetup this year?
It was fantastic, and I really got to applaud you, excuse me, you and Roger for putting this together, because this is how many was this the second one or the third one?
This was the second one.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
I was thinking about that for a minute. I thought, wow, but it was great. And for you to step out and do this, I think it's wonderful for you and Roger to put this thing together, because it gives us an opportunity to, the folks that we meet on the Insider program, we meet by talking to each other, typing messages back and forth, and sharing pictures and things like that on the Discord channel. But we don't get an opportunity to meet them in person. And this was one of those times where, or, every year doing this event becomes one of those times where we get to meet everybody in person. And that's just wonderful. It really is. And like you said, Michelle being I was going to say social butterfly. I don't know if that's the best way to put that, but she was going around, and to her respect, she was going around and meeting with everyone.
Right.
And I was trying to do the same thing, as I know you and Roger and John were as well, because like I said earlier, this is that opportunity for us to meet the other insiders in person. And yes, I mean, that big bear hug that you give, you know, it's awesome. But I mean, that's the thing is, reaching out and getting to know these people now even more so. And now they become friends. And so I think it was a fantastic. I had the tacos too. And I did the same thing. I was sitting out there where it was being pelted with a little bit of rain, but not too bad. But I was sitting out there as well, eating my tacos and enjoying every minute of it. But hats off to you and Roger for putting this together. It was great. And I know Roger was doing the best he could with this, and it was raining on his clipboard, getting all wet and everything. But there he was trying to make sure that everybody had a place and a seat and everything else. It was great.
Right on. And John, how about you? You were one of the people that was tasked with kind of like being the gatekeeper of determining, all right, are you on the list or not? And
Yeah, but I did a horrible job. I was letting people in that had no business in there. And it was kind of funny. People would walk up from through the parking lot, as you said, and think that this was the right way in. And I'm standing there with a clipboard and I'm like, and what are your names? And they're like, oh, we didn't do reservations. I'm like, oh, get the hell out of here. No, there's the.
well, that would explain why I got the double salute from somebody. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes you got to be a tough guy. But no, and I kind of echo what you guys have already said. It really is like a family reunion. I mean, last year was my first year at PhenomeCon, and thank God I went to the get together, because that's where I met. Well, here, think about this. Two of the people I met that night are Jim and Annie. They're all going to be two of my best friends already. It's like, and they're going to be lifelong friends. And then I meet Roger and Mae and Jeff and yeah, then Michelle and Jay this year were there. And, we just keep running. And Mary Lee. Oh my God. We drive up into the parking lot. Eminem is standing there, waiting for us practically. I jump out and got a bear hug from Mary Lee. Freaking amazing.
And and that's what it was like for
great.
Roger and I as well. We pulled up in the car, and the moment we step out, the moment my first foot hits the pavement, there's Mary Lee and John.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary Lee gave me a big old hug, and John as well. And it was just a really, really cool event to to see everybody come together. And the reason that Roger and I do that the night before PhenomeCon is to give insiders like ourselves that are coming in from out of town. And even though Roger and I live in the state of Utah, we still live 3 hours away from Vernal. So it's a bit of a drive for us to get there. But then there's all these people that come in from out of state, and in some cases, as we've seen both years now, because last year we had somebody from New Zealand that came to the meetup. And so PhenomeCon draws in people from literally all over the world. And so Roger and I thought, after attending PhenomeCon 2 years before we began doing this meetup, there was nothing that was organized for people like ourselves that arrived the night before PhenomeCon began, where people can get together in a safe area and just enjoy some opportunities to socialize and have good food and good drinks. And so we took it upon ourselves to find a local restaurant that was willing to host us, and we found a doozy when we got in touch with Vernal Brewing Company, and it's just kind of grown from there. We started out our first year, we only had 35 insiders. This year we were supposed to have 80, and unfortunately we had a couple that had to cancel at the last minute. But we had over 70 people this year, and who knows, next year when we do the first official insider family reunion, we may even be able to increase the size to a number even more than 80. But absolute perfect way, I think, to kick off PhenomeCon and to get everybody in the spirit. And we sure had a good time with this one. So moving on, guys, let's talk about what were some of the big takeaways that each of you had from your PhenomeCon experience. And Roger, we'll start with you. What were, if you were to pick your first maybe your top five presenters at PhenomeCon. Who were the ones that impressed you the most when they gave their presentations?
Well, that's going to be a little bit difficult because there were so many great presentations all around. But uh, as I think about it, I think and maybe I won't do top five, but I'll do top three. And so one of my favorite presenters was actually Nick Pope from Ancient Aliens. And credit to this guy because he is just so genuinely friendly. And both Jim and I, we got to shake his hands, meet him, talk to him for a little bit. But when he's up on stage, you can tell he's great. So he's used to work in the UK Ministry of Defense on their UFO program. And I think it was just one of the highlights because he was just really candid, straightforward. But he was also talking about a serious subject, right? The UAP, UFOs, and everything that the British government um, had been doing that's been declassified or made public. And he talked about that, and it is a serious subject. And it's good to know that not only do we encounter this in the United States, but also our ally, Britain, Great Britain, England, they actually have many, many different types of encounters similar to ours, right? And so being able to hear about some of his experiences and the things that he was able to talk about was really, really good. And that was one of my highlights. And Jim, I know that you groaned a little bit during his presentation because he made some really, really funny jokes. And when I say funny jokes, I meant punny jokes. Because he took the serious subject, but he also made it light enough and told some jokes there. I really enjoyed that. Nick Pope is great. And if you haven't had a chance to watch him on Ancient Aliens, do yourself a good service and check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it, and especially Nick Pope. Um, Secondly, I'm going to talk about Jay Stratton. So I really enjoyed Jay Stratton and his presentation. So I got to know Jay just a little bit this year. And Jay's a pretty down to earth guy. Little, he's if you can get him to smile, you've done really, really well. Um, and so I really appreciated the fact that this man has done our country a great service. He's had a very honorable military career, which I applaud him for. He's very, very, very honorable. I just love when you talk to him, you just understand that he has a great moral compass. He's ethical. And I think that's what he brought to his presentation and being able to summarize a lot of what he has done in his military career with the Navy and being able to bring to light some of these topics that are UAP, UFOs. And I think one of the things that like really stood out to me with Jay um, was that you guys all know there's so much disinformation or misinformation out there regarding the subject, regarding people who have been in government, doing the research and everything. And I think Jay did a lot to dispel that and really came out and really talked about the different periods of his career, what he was doing. Um, but the one thing that really stood out to me within this presentation was that Jay has become an expert on aircraft, right? So he would be able to identify anything in the skies, right? So he was not only an expert on US military planes, but also um, the different world powers, right? He would be able to identify jets in Russia, China, or any of our adversaries, any of our allies. And what that meant to me was is that when somebody brought something to him, a picture, he would be able to be like, "Oh yeah, that's that." But there were many cases where he's like, "I can't identify that." Right? I know it's not ours. I know it's not our allies. I know it's not any of our enemies. And that really stood out to me as somebody who was really curious about UAPs and UFOs and really being transparent about, his expertise and that he is saying, that look, we've got things out there that we don't know what it is. Now, he didn't speculate, and I won't speculate as, what these things are. We just know that they're there and they do present a threat to, our national security. These things are flying in US airspace, right? And it's putting our pilots in danger every day. And so my hat's off to Jay Stratton there for being able to come forward and presenting some of that information, and really helping push this dialogue forward, that we actually have legislation through Congress that has, I guess, language around non-human entities and things like that, where we are continuing that conversation. So again, just such a fabulous presentation that Jay Stratton had. And I think my third one, I mean, you guys know I love Dr. Travis Taylor, but the one person I really enjoyed too was Pete Kelsey. So Pete he's such a down-to-earth guy, and it was really fun to see all of his different LiDAR adventures. And he went into great detail about the Alcatraz, where he helped map that out. And I think he's doing a great service to our national parks and some of our national treasures, where these things are deteriorating, right? They haven't had good records, and he's being able to use his technology to go in and really map these places out, right? And preserve that history that we have. And so it was a really fun way to listen to Pete Kelsey and understand not only his impact on Skinwalker Ranch, but also Expedition Bigfoot. But even beyond that, his company is out there helping preserve and document history. So I would say those were my top three. I really enjoyed it. I could probably talk for hours and hours about just all my different thoughts. It was such an amazing PhenomeCon, but I will cut it short there to give everyone else some time to talk about their favorites.
Fantastic. And I have to add my 2 cents regarding Pete Kelsey, that he is indeed a rock star in every sense of the word. He's one of my favorite people. His presentation was extraordinary. And like you say, Roger, it extends far beyond the secret of Skinwalker Ranch and Expedition Bigfoot. He's done stuff to help map the interior of the USS Arizona over in Pearl Harbor, as well as Alcatraz. And so also, let's not forget his work on Easter Island with the Moai.
Oh, yeah.
And he shared some great pictures for that. And of course, the highlight of Pete's presentation was him sharing photos of him with long hair and his days as a touring rock and roll musician. In fact, he had a photo of him with Steve Stevens, who, of course, was and still is the amazing guitar player for Billy Idol. So it was really, really cool to see that side of Pete. So, Jeff, how about you? What were three of your big takeaways as far as the presenters go?
Well, first I have to say, go right along with Roger there on Jay Stratton. And what and Roger said it all so very well. So I don't need to go and repeat everything that he had said. But the one thing I want to say about Jay's presentation is that I walked away from it feeling so much better about us getting closer to actual disclosure in this country. And that right there, I mean, the work that he did leading up to his retirement and then now after his retirement is going to be paramount in making this happen and getting this disclosure out there. So I had a much better feel. I thought for a long time, I thought they'll never do this, in really the way we want. But I came away feeling so much better about it. Will they come back and say, "Oh well, Roswell, yeah, we got crash material"? No, we probably will never get to those points. But from this point forward, and they're already admitting some things, I think I'm glad he is who he is and has done what he has done to get us there. So I just wanted to add that in there with Jay Stratton. Another one that I was really impressed with was David Schrader. David
Yes.
Schrader came on there, and he's a paranormal guy. Works, all of his different shows that he's been on, so many different things. And he came out this time with a very heartfelt presentation that I think rocked the room. I mean, it really, really did. It was very good. A lot of people were tearing up, listening to him. He had a few moments where he had to stop and look down and kind of collect himself so that he could continue on. It was fantastic. So, and I've asked him, me, I got to jump in there and say, hey, you want to come on a podcast? So here I am, this little podcast guy, and I'm going, hey, David Trader, would love to have you on. But so yeah, he said he would. We got to work out the details, but I was very impressed with him. There were so many, it was hard to say. George Knapp, I know, was another one that I wanted to say too, but I did sit in on both of David Pilates his presentations. He did one on Bigfoot, and then he did one on his missing 411. Both of them were fantastic. I've watched his podcast. I've watched his a little bit of his documentaries and whatnot, but his presentation was fantastic on both of those subjects. So very impressed with that. So David Schrader, David Pilates, and then Jay Stratton, of course. George Knapp was wonderful. I mean, like Roger was saying, I could go on and on with these guys, but that was the beauty. I think this season, 2020 PhenomeCon 2024, was the best one yet, with presentations going on and just the overall atmosphere of it all was fantastic. Pete Kelsey was great. So yeah, I'm gonna let John and Mae kind of talk about theirs too, but that was my big takeaway from the presentations that I saw that I had not seen in previous years.
I would have to 100% agree with what you said about Dave Schrader. He was one of my favorite presenters from last year in PhenomeCon 2023, and I was not prepared for the sincerity and the personal uh, aspect of the presentation that he gave this year. And um, you're absolutely right, Jeff. There were many misty eyes in the ballroom by the time Dave had finished his presentation, and it uh, remains probably not only one of my favorite presentations for this PhenomeCon, but probably of all 4 years that I've attended. That was easily one of the top 5 presentations I've had the pleasure of being there to witness. And so yeah, big props to Dave Schrader for that one. So John, how about you? What were some of your favorites as far as the presenters go?
And you guys have already touched on most of them, but I wanted to say something real quick about Dave Schrader's, because his was also, I was one of those with misty eyes. I told you guys many times, I'm a crier. I'm the biggest softie. I'll cry at the drop of a hat. If I see somebody else crying, I will reflexively cry.
Did you cry in Titanic?
No, screw Titanic. No.
I knew it.
I'm not that big of a softie.
Okay.
But seriously, yeah, his talk, what I wanted to say is it had nothing to do with the supernatural or anything paranormal. He was just like, you know what? I got this thing I want to get out there. There's something important I want to say. See, I'm about to tear up just thinking about it. It's crazy. Like, it was like, dude, I even went up to him later. I'm like, you're not supposed to make us cry that early in the morning,
Right.
It was great. I went up to his table and I was like, hey, dude, virtual hug. And he's like, screw that. You come around here. I'm gonna give you a real hug. So we got a real hug from David Schrader. So but yeah, his was amazing. Jay Stratton's was the big draw, I think. Yeah, because that was the first time he's spoken publicly about those things. Right. And to hear it in that level of detail. So like here are the programs, here's my background, here's what I worked on. And then everything just kind of falls into place at that point. It all makes sense. It's like his job before all this stuff, or one of his jobs, was to know what the enemy or any foreign adversaries or what, even like you said, our allies, what's everybody doing? What are they capable of? So we could be prepared. So of course he's naturally going to be the guy that people go to when they say, hey, we got this video or we got this something on radar, or we got these photos of something. We can't tell what they are. Do you know what they are? Who would you go to? He's the expert, right?
Right.
So yeah, so it makes perfect sense that's how he got involved in this. So yeah, that was a wonderful thing. I can't wait till he gets to talk a little bit more about it, down the road. Nick Pope, yeah, it was hilarious. He was amazing. Pete Kelsey was pretty great. But I think one of my other favorites, though, there were some that I didn't get to because, we were so busy with other things. But Travis Taylor's was one of the best. And it wasn't because of Travis. It was because Travis was late.
Right?
Remember?
Oh,
And they
yes.
had Brian
Yes.
and Eric and you know the guys up there just flat out roasting him for 15 minutes.
It was
But that was some of
beautiful.
it was I hope that was all recorded too, because that was brilliant and hilarious. So yeah, it was that was one of my favorite. I mean, Travis was great too. I loved hearing his answers. You know, don't get me wrong, he was pretty great, but the roast, the unexpected roast for 15 minutes at the start was incredible. Yeah. That's enough for I'll talk all night.
I would have to agree. It's funny, John, because a lot of people that have never met Bryant, Dragon, in person, the only impression they have of him is what they see on the show. And a lot of people, particularly from season one, Bryant seems like this really, foul-tempered, really kind of, just the kind of guy that you don't want to wake up on the bad side of, right?
The
And
human personification of Grumpy Cat.
right, and the reality is that Dragon is one of the funniest. He has the quickest wit, I think, of anybody on the team that I've seen anyway.
Mhm.
And he's just so much fun to be around, and he's genuinely a very kind, compassionate, but also a very funny person if you ever get the chance to meet him in person. And he put that on full display during that roast of Travis that was unplanned, but was we all benefited from it. Sorry, Travis, but they Eric and Thomas and Dragon did a great job, and that was definitely one of the high points for me as well. So, May, you were there just Friday and Saturday, but of those 2 days, what did you and Kevin think? Were there any presentations on Friday or Saturday that stood out to you that you really liked?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have terrible FOMO about, missing out. I would have loved to have seen Pete Kelsey because I'm very fascinated with what he does. And I think that he has just that right mix of cojones and crazy that I just really admire. Like, the one time he's like, oh, we're just going to hang outside, I'm going to hang out underneath this helicopter and hold this scan. And so I'm like, wow, I like that. There's a lot there. What I really particularly liked, besides the roast, which was great, was Maria Mayor and Russell Acord. I don't really watch that show very much because I'm never home, and Kevin does though. And I really was fascinated and impressed with the backgrounds that they have, their education, their experience, and that they are approaching this expedition as we're using what we know to try to prove and find something that people have claimed to find, to see. And we're finding things that support this. But I love that there is still the maintaining of, look, when I see it, that's when I'll say this is true. Because I think that's very interesting because it is taking everyone seriously. You're taking all these different regions and cultures, different stories of whatever upright tailless primate is out there, and I was very fascinated. I really enjoyed their talks, so that was really good. And of course, I also enjoyed George Knapp's speeches, him talking and his experience. He's very just matter of fact. I'm a journalist. Here it is. This is, I'm bringing you the facts, and I appreciate that kind of unbiased presentation.
Cool. Well, Roger, please tell me that you ordered the Blu-ray for this year's PhenomeCon because I was busy tuning instruments and doing all that stuff backstage while George Knapp was on, so I didn't get to see any of his or Dave Politis's presentation on Saturday. So please tell me that you're getting that Blu-ray or DVD.
I have good news for you, Jim. I have ordered the DVD Blu-ray, and yes, as soon as I get it, then I will share it with you, and you can watch the last day there. Yeah, and for everyone out there, yeah, I have well, as soon as I get this one, I'll have all 4 years of all the presentations and everything. And let me tell you, it's fun to go back and watch years past and just go through that. So If you haven't been to PhenomeCon and you can come next year, they do sell previous years. So it would be my recommendation that you pick that up. If you don't have a Blu-ray player or something like that, because I know technology changes at the speed of light, they do also sell it on a USB drive, so you can just stream it to your computer and watch it that way. But yes, absolutely, I will have that, and I would highly encourage anybody attending PhenomeCon to purchase that. It's well worth it to go back and compare your notes and look at just kind of the presentations again, and really, John, as you said, going through those withdrawal symptoms. Once you can go back and kind of look through all the different speakers and stuff there on that DVD, it helps with the withdrawal symptoms, but it also is great because I know as humans, we forget things, and we tend to forget things over time. And it's always great to go back and listen to what the speaker said and take those notes. And right, because we all go to PhenomeCon for a reason, whether that's we love Bigfoot, whether we love treasure, whether we love UAPs, UFOs, ghosts. All that is there, and it's really fun to listen to the experts there and then go back and use that to further our own research and move forward.
Yeah, if I could jump in on that too, real quick, and I
Sure.
apologize, but something that I had mentioned too about that DVD is that I'm getting it this year. I never did get the past year's ones, but I am getting this one for sure, so I can, like Roger just said, so you can revisit some of those presentations, even though I watched them, but there were many I didn't watch, and I want to catch those because that was the one thing with having so many good speakers on, that some of them were all speaking at the same time. So you had to pick and choose who you really wanted to see. A little bit unfortunate on that, but that's the way it turns out. But get that DVD and then you can watch them all. I'm going to go for the USB myself and get that. But I wanted to also mention that Jay Stratton's presentation will not be on it because his was not recorded for reasons that you can imagine why. He didn't want any recordings done at all about his. So you will not get his, but you'll get everybody else. That was all. Yeah.
Despite the fact that some morons actually surreptitiously violated that request at PhenomeCon and captured some slides and stuff, and hopefully those people will think twice about doing something like that in the future. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, very good point, Jeff. Thanks for letting us know about that. So for me, folks, all the ones that you guys mentioned for your favorite speakers are also all of mine. The only one that none of you mentioned that I did enjoy quite a bit was the very first presenter at PhenomeCon, and that would be Ben Hansen. And I've been a fan of the work that Ben Hansen has done in the various TV shows that he's done, the UFO Witness series, and a couple of the others that he has on Discovery. And I really enjoyed his presentation. I thought he was very articulate. He was very well researched with the things that he presented, to the extent that other presenters actually gave him shout outs for his presentation in the subsequent presentations that were done this year at PhenomeCon. So he's somebody who was obviously respected and admired by his own peers that are many of whom were there presenting at PhenomeCon. So I really enjoyed Ben Hansen's talk, and to find out that he graduated from Bountiful High School, which is the high school that my wife graduated from, that was kind of cool to learn that little fact. I regret that I only got to very briefly shake Ben's hand. I didn't get a chance to actually have a conversation with him, and I'm regretting that. And hopefully sometime in the future I'll get a chance to actually have a conversation with Ben Hansen and tell him how much I appreciate the work that he's done and that he continues to do. But he was one of my favorites as well. And of course, Jay Stratton, easily one of the top 5 presentations ever given at PhenomeCon, if not within the top 3, and may even be the absolute best presentation ever given, if I'm being perfectly honest. I missed George Knapp's presentation. I'm kind of sad about that. But Pete Kelsey's presentation was amazing. And Nick Pope, of course, was awesome. The thing that Roger and I got to experience with Nick Pope when we got to meet him at the opening reception the first night of PhenomeCon was we actually had a chance to talk to Nick Pope about music. And of course, anybody that knows me knows that you're very likely not going to get out of a conversation with Jimm that doesn't some way involve music. And so it was with Nick Pope. And so I had to ask Nick, what some of his favorite music was. And it turns out, much to my surprise and delight, he was a big fan of a lot of the music that I am a big fan of, particularly bands like OMD and a lot of the post-punk and synth pop music of the 1980s. So getting to learn that little tidbit about Nick Pope was also really cool and something that I enjoyed an awful lot. But yeah, I would agree, Jeff. This year's presenters at PhenomeCon, I think, is the best lineup they have ever had. Particularly the speakers that were talking in the grand ballroom. There was one day, Roger, I think it might have been Thursday, either Thursday or Friday, where we didn't leave the ballroom all day. We stayed in the ballroom from the moment we got there in the morning and just watched every speaker that was presenting in the grand ballroom that day. We didn't attend any of the breakout sessions on one of those days. We just stayed right there in the ballroom, and that's the first time that's ever happened, right, Raj?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I think it was Thursday because we had David Schrader, then Nick Pope, Jay Stratton, and then William Henry.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, we were staying there all day.
Yep. And Friday, which is when they had the Travis Taylor presentation, that was that was another one that was it was kind of more like a Q&A. It wasn't really like a presentation that Travis gave. It was more of a Q&A, much like the
I think
Skinwalker
Jimm's
Ranch.
getting Skinwalkered.
Am I
Okay,
getting Skinwalkered?
that's Jim, not my crappy Wi-Fi thing
Right.
here.
I was checking my internet real fast. Like, did I
There
hear
he
There
is.
you
He's
are.
back.
he's back?
Am I back? Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
You're back, Jim. Skinwalker Ranch was communicating with your device.
I got Skinwalkered. But there you go, folks. I really do think that PhenomeCon 2024, in regards to the presenters, the people that were speaking either in the grand ballroom or in the breakout sessions, was honestly the best lineup that they've had to date. It was really something to be a part of. So let's talk about some of the other stuff about PhenomeCon. What were some of the other things that made PhenomeCon memorable for you guys? And we won't mention that band that performed, but we'll talk about that towards the end. But what were some of the other things that really stood out to you that made PhenomeCon 2024 such a special and unique event? And Jeff, we'll start with you.
Well, for me, obviously and I got to see the same thing last year was the Pete Kelsey and um, Eric Bard doing their thing together, which is always an awesome thing to see. I didn't do many of the add-ons this year. They have many add-ons that you can do where you can go and have either breakfast, lunch, or dinner with the celebrities or the people that you want to, the presenters. You can go and do those. I actually didn't do any of those this year. I was trying to, be a little more conservative with that. But
We missed you at the Voice of the Believers, Jeff.
I know, and the Voice of the Believers, honestly, that is one of the best ones in my opinion. And I'll let you talk about it a little bit if you want on your own. But the Voice of Believers, you go out into this canyon area. They have a wonderful meal. Did they have the barbecue again this year?
They
Oh, yeah.
most certainly did.
Oh, that is the one of the best meals ever. And so we did the barbecue, and then of course they get the bonfire going and they get everybody around in a circle and they pass the microphone and people get to talk about their experiences, which is an absolute it's I have to say, I was going to say disturbing. That's the wrong word to use for it, but you hear some of the stories that people tell are somewhat earth-shattering. I mean, some of the things that have happened to people, whether it be a paranormal experience or a UFO, UAP experience or a Bigfoot experience, whatever it may be, you get to hear those testimonies. And man, that's an amazing and a little bit disturbing thing because you think, man, I'm glad this never happened to me. But that's a wonderful event, and I'm glad they put that on for sure. Um, You know, I wanted to say also that, you know, those breakfast, lunch, and dinners are really cool too, because you get an opportunity to actually, you're at dinner, but they come around and they sit with everybody. I know doing the one with the whole team from Expedition Bigfoot. They came around and they sat in with everybody at the long table there and talked with everyone. So you really got an opportunity to ask them questions one on one and stuff like that. They're also gracious in that. Really, really good stuff. So, um, you know, of course, McConkey Ranch, if you haven't ever been out there, that's another one that you've got to do. But because I was kind of more conservative this year, I wanted to spend more time right there in the center and doing some live broadcasts right there on my platform, that I thought I want to spend more time doing that. And I kind of stepped away from doing some of the add-ons that we had for that reason. So I'm going to let you guys take and talk about your experiences with those.
Alrighty, John, let's start with you.
You know, let's see. It's all such a blur. I'm trying to remember the add-ons that I did. I mean, of course, there was Dinner with Jay, but I mean, you know, come on, we go way back now. It's like no big deal.
Jay is so passe. Blase,
No,
blase.
actually, that one was great. What was cool about that is everyone wanted to talk to Jay on one end of the table or his son Jonathan on the other end. And like halfway through the dinner, they switched ends because everyone wants to talk to those two guys. So it was kind of funny, but it was a great night. And you know, we had lunch with Caleb. I've kind of forgotten. Oh, Voice of Believers. I went with you. I was going to go do a different thing, and you guys convinced me to go do that. So I wanted to say something extremely important for anyone who wants to go to it. When they say it gets chilly up there, so bring a jacket, they mean it. Don't ignore that warning like I did, because I froze my butt off until somebody, who was it?
Brent.
When he got a blanket, and I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good.
You look so cute wrapped up in that
I
blanket. You're just
don't
like
care.
floating down
I would
there.
have worn a hot pink Barbie blanket at that point. I did not care. I was so cold. I'm sitting here in my normal uniform, which is like a black polo shirt. Holy crap, it got cold up there, which is weird because it's just a few miles out of town and it's not that cold in town. But they mean it, so fair warning.
Right on. So what was your impression of the Voice of the Believers? Though, start with the food. What was the food like?
It was great. Yeah, I mean, it's just wonderful food. Too much food, you know, between the food and then the desserts. I was like, I'm just gonna pass out. So yeah, it was excellent food.
Right.
I really liked it. It's completely different from any of the other add-ons. You know, the
Right.
other add-ons are dinners. Oh, that was the other thing. I did the Skinwalker Ranch dinner panel kind of thing. That was the other one. But they're kind of similar. You know, the lunches and the dinners and the breakfast, you all go to a place, you sit around a table, you chat, you eat, you leave. You know, the Voice of Believers is completely different. You know, you go, first of all, the environment, they take you out away from the normal facilities. It's a completely different environment. You're outside sitting around that fire, you know, that big outdoor space. And then, yeah, they start just handing the mic around. You know, people draw numbers, I guess, or they pass out numbers to keep track of whose turn it is. And people just get a chance to tell their stories. And that's completely different from the other add-ons. So I would recommend it.
Right on. And May, you were there as well. You attended the Voice of the Believers open mic and dinner. What was your impression?
Well, the food was really good. I was pretty impressed. You know, I'm from Texas, and when people say barbecue, you know, like what do you mean? But it was really good. The around, it's really hard, I know, with the way the pavilion lights are there. So I've decided we do this again, we're going to sit on the other side, so the lights to the back, because I really wanted to look at the stars. And so I would look up and I would, you know, block out the light. And I do know there were some very interesting stories that some people had told. I know that some of the things that you guys had told us that last year there had been some really more chilling, maybe is the word you were looking for, Jeff, chilling or unsettling stories. And so we didn't stay for the entire time. And so I don't know if I think people were very hesitant. I did see there were a lot of dead silences while they were waiting for anybody to speak up. But I guess that was like for that experience, it's going to be different every time. So I think we would have liked to have done in like the stargazing at Dinosaur Monument, but it would have conflicted with that time. So yeah, so we're kind of torn. Kevin and I are thinking, okay, if we do this again, do we want to do this? We really want to do the stargazing, and the light in the pavilions really kind of polluted all of that. But that food was really good.
Right.
Yeah.
So Roger, you and I did the same schedule as far as add-on events go. So tell us what were some of your favorite add-on events that you participated in this year?
Yeah, so I really love the add-on events, and I guess I'll start with the Voice of the Believer, since we were talking about that right now. And hands down, the Voice of the Believer is always one of my favorite events. I really enjoy the food. They do a really, really good job with the barbecue and the dessert that they have there. And it's a great environment just to sit down and listen to other people's stories and share your own experiences. Um, and I think this year was a little bit off in my opinion. And when I say off, I mean that there weren't as many people there as years past. And I know you and I talked about it, Jimm, and we're thinking that maybe it's because they have so many activities scheduled for that Friday night that there's a lot more choice now for people to be able to do different things. And so we didn't get as many people there. And I think the group that was there, very friendly, very nice. But to Mae's point, a lot of people I didn't feel this year that they were um, really comfortable in sharing some of their stories. And it was colder than usual. But I will always say I love that event and would still recommend it strongly for anybody to go. It was great. I did actually get to see some because I was sitting next to a guy and I can't remember his name, but I guess he had seen UAPs and stuff the previous year, and he was out looking, and him and I talked a little bit, and we did see some anomalous UAPs. Didn't look like satellites. They were changing directions, and so that was really interesting to me. Don't know what to make of it. Again, we're just looking up in the sky, but that was a lot of fun, and I really did enjoy listening to people's experiences there. So that will always be one of my favorites. Um, I did again enjoy the behind the scenes with the Skinwalker Ranch panel. That is always a treat, especially because we talked about the season 5 episode this past season, Droneageddon, and all the different things, and just listening to the stories of what they were doing. And if you haven't seen that episode, it's worthwhile watching it. I really love the fact that again, right? You don't want to tempt fate, but it sounds like those guys there at Skinwalker Ranch, they tempted fate that day, and they dared the ranch to do something and to prove that it was real. And what they got was drones dropping out of the sky and chasing the different teams. So that was really fun to learn about and just kind of see that. It makes a lot of sense when you watch that episode. So I really enjoyed that. Now, this isn't an add-on event, but I will have to say, because we haven't talked about it yet, but I absolutely loved Greg Lawson, who is known as the paranormal detective. He was such a great MC this year. Super nice guy, very professional. I think he was one of the best presenters that we've had at PhenomeCon. And yeah, he's a genuine guy. And if you haven't checked out his stuff, um, type in or search for Greg Lawson, Paranormal Detective, and check out his books. He has some really, really good books, especially on Roswell. But yeah, I think that was one of the highlights too, because in the past with some of the other presenters, I don't think they were as enthusiastic or really kind of did their homework. And Greg is somebody that really lives and breathes PhenomeCon and has been there presenting in the past as well. So those are the crazy things that I loved. about. And again, kind of like you guys have all said, any of the breakfasts and lunch dinners that we've been to, whether it was Caleb or with Jay Stratton, they were all really, really fun. And I think especially with the dinners or the breakfast, the lunches, you get to meet different people as you sit there, not only get to talk to the person that you paid to see, but you get to talk to other people in that group environment and learn about other people. So again, great networking opportunities, but those were some of my highlights for the add-on activities. And I know that the one I'll just briefly mention, but I'll let Jimm talk about, is the food trucks and the tacos.
Sure, leave it to Jimm to talk about the tacos and the food trucks, right?
You know it.
I see what you're doing, Raj. Okay, all right. Yeah, so for those of you that go to PhenomeCon that opt not to do the add-on activities like the dinners and the lunches and breakfasts with the various celebrities, there is the option of doing these amazing food trucks that they bring in during the day at PhenomeCon. And of course, there is a taco truck. In fact, this year we had two different taco trucks. The my favorite of which was El Homie's Tacos, based there in Vernal, Utah. And there was another one called Dino Bites, which was more of a Cuban kind of flavor to the offerings that they had. But Jeff, I know that you were out there with us on one of the days, and I had tacos with Chris Bartell. How cool was that? And so yeah, I had carne asada tacos probably on, I think on by my count, 4 of the 5 days that we were there. So um, I live up to my reputation, folks. I love tacos. What can I say? And the food trucks, of course, they had a lot of different ones. It wasn't just tacos and Mexican food that were on offer. There was a great corn dog truck that was there, and
Oh yeah.
and I got to sample one of the corn dogs. It was delicious. They also had, gosh, what was there? There was a truck that had like homemade ice cream and homemade smoothies that I regret not trying, especially the ice cream. There was one there that, I believe made burgers and had some barbecue type stuff on offer. But again, it just goes to show that at PhenomeCon, the folks that put PhenomeCon together, Bridget and Alicia and their amazing team, do such a good job to make sure that everybody has multiple options as far as making sure that you have food available throughout your PhenomeCon experience. And uh, those food trucks are always a big hit with me because I got to get my taco on. I got to do it, right? So this year was no exception. And speaking to the add-on activities, Roger, you and I did the Melissa Winterton meditation activity, which John, I know that you went to last year,
I
and
went to the one, her normal session. I
right,
didn't do the meditation.
yeah. And this year, the reason why I wanted to attend it this year was because it left such a profound impact on me last year that I kind of wanted to experience that again to kind of recharge my batteries, if you will. And Melissa did not disappoint in the slightest. Her presentation, once again, was just simply incredible. And I had so much fun at it. And I know, Roger, you got quite a bit out of the meditation session as well. You just walk out of it feeling completely relaxed and refreshed and ready to take on whatever comes at you next. And it's a great way to find a little bit of balance and harmony in your life. And the tools to figure out how to do that were things that I learned through Melissa's presentation that she gave. And again, cannot say enough good things about it. And of course, the Skinwalker Ranch behind the scenes dinner was great. And it's funny that you mentioned the Dronegeddon episode because Jeff, a couple months back, you actually had Eric Bard and Thomas Winterton on your podcast, the J Free 906 podcast, to talk about exactly what that was like behind the scenes. And that was the first time that a lot of us, myself included, got a little bit of insight into what really went down that night, and how I think it was Thomas that was like had like challenged the ranch, for want of a better word, and he was like, "Come on, that's the best that you can do. Come on, give me something more." And of course, the ranch was like, "Well, here, hold my beer." and and of course, we all saw what happened as a result of that. So they reiterated that during the behind the scenes dinner with the Skinwalker Ranch team, and once again, it did not disappoint. The candor and the interplay that these team members have with each other, where they're just picking on each other and just having a great time. Even though there were several hundred of us in the ballroom at this dinner, we all kind of felt like it was still a very intimate kind of a setting. And John, you may remember, we had Mara Lee sitting at our table, and Mara Lee did not want to eat dessert, so she graciously asked if I wanted to have her cookie and her ice cream, and of course, I said no. Right, right.
That's what I saw.
Right, right.
That's right. So of course I took her up on the offer, and this year they had this amazing gingerbread cookie that was made to look like a flying saucer,
Okay.
and as always, it's mint chocolate chip ice cream, which is just my favorite flavor of ice cream to begin with. And so I'm over there recreating the Roswell crash with, with my dessert, and everybody's looking at me like, "Is he okay? Has he been drinking a little something?" But but no, I had a lot of fun just being in there and enjoying that moment. And we had a great group of people sitting at our table, as we usually do, and it was just uh, still it's one of my favorite events, along with the Voice of the Believers. And speaking of the Voice of Believers, Jeff, as Roger said, it was kind of it was a mild disappointment because there were I'd say probably a good 20, maybe 30% less people attending it this year, which the upside of that was there was more food. So you could go back for seconds or thirds, fourths. So I had my fill, you could say, of the amazing cobbler. I had apple cinnamon cobbler, I had peach cobbler, I had blueberry, raspberry. I think the only one I didn't try was the strawberry, but that was the upside, was there was more food to go around, and homemade root beer, which was amazing. But this was the first time that either Roger and I have attended the Voice of the Believers that neither one of us felt compelled to share anything. And Jeff, you remember last year was the first time I worked up the courage to talk about my shadow being experience at the Voice of the Believers last year. And Roger has always shared one of his many paranormal experiences whenever we've gone. But this year, there was just a different vibe to all of it. And I can't really say what that was, but I can share with you something. And I'm not going to share the entire details, but suffice to say, the night before we had the Voice of the Believers dinner, Roger and I had our very own paranormal experience that happened in the hotel that we were staying at. And Jeff, it was on the order of outright terrifying as my shadow being, as my Hat Man encounter was. And I think that is partially what influenced the reason why Roger and I didn't feel compelled to share anything this year at the Voice of the Believers. Raj, am I wrong in saying that? Is that part of the reason why you didn't feel like saying anything? Was we were still kind of reeling from what we experienced?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that assessment. It was something that was pretty terrifying, and yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of paranormal experiences, but that was one of the strangest ones that I've had, and one of the creepiest ones that I can say. And won't get into the details here. Still too soon, but yeah, I think that was part of the reasons, just trying to figure out and kind of process everything that had happened. And even earlier that day, I had had a paranormal experience actually in the conference room during Jay Stratton's talk. So I think all those events and everything just kind of led up to being more as an observer this year.
Yeah, it was one of those things, and what made this so unique, folks, was that Roger and I both experienced this together, and we both saw what we saw together. It wasn't a case of, I don't know, did I really see that? When in fact, when you've got somebody else there to confirm that what you thought you saw, you really did see because they saw it too. That was kind of what we were dealing with, and I'm sure in the not too distant future, in a different setting, Roger and I will be happy to divulge the details of what exactly we experienced uh, the evening prior to the Voice of the Believers, that kind of gave us pause, if you will, because it's the first time that anything like this, to this extent, to this magnitude, had ever happened to me. So uh, stay tuned on that, folks.
I was going to say, if you guys, when you're ready, you can always come on. We can do the Beyond Our World and come on the podcast. We can talk about that when you guys are ready. Love to hear that
Absolutely.
story.
Oh, heck yeah, we'd love to. That would be awesome. So just to kind of tie everything up here, folks. There's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and I know that John, you and Roger and I uh, took the opportunity to get VIP tickets this year.
Mhm.
And there's always been a little bit of controversy surrounding the VIP passes that were put up for sale for PhenomeCon. First and foremost, because they were in such limited supply. And there's a lot of people that wanted to have an opportunity to get those passes that did not have an opportunity because they sold out. I think it was like within 10 minutes or something crazy like that. So they went really fast. And of course, they were significantly more expensive than a regular standard 4-day pass for PhenomeCon. But now that you've had the VIP experience, as it were, what are your thoughts on was it worth the price that you paid? And John, we'll start with you.
Absolutely. I think it was. But I think it also dovetails into the other weird stuff that was going on that week, right? We're sitting up there with, of course, you guys and friends, and half the time, Jay and Michelle or Jonathan Stratton are sitting at our table. That just contributes to the whole thing. But yeah, purely just the VIP stuff, I think it was worth it. Hell, it's worth it just to have water at the table, because I was constantly dehydrated. I thought I was going to die most days, so.
Right.
And then let's also remember the freeze-dried Skittles.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. So that's worth the price of admission right there. Although you brought the nerds that were so unbelievably addicting. But
The
yeah,
gummy nerds that I call crap.
nerds.
It's so addicting.
They are evil, pure evil. But yeah, I think it was worth it. Yeah, I think it was worth it.
I have no recollection, Senator. I will neither confirm nor deny my partaking of the freeze-dried Skittles that were provided to us. But no, they were. I mean, I've always loved Skittles, but this was something new for me that I'd never tried. And yes, perfect description. It was like eating. It was like crack. I mean, you start eating one and you can't stop. And they're one of the many things that was included in the swag bag that those that got the VIP passes were able to get. And so some of the other things that we got in our swag bag were this T-shirt. We got a special PhenomeCon T-shirt. We got this great little notebook to take notes in. We got, of course, the freeze dried Skittles and a number of stickers and lots of other cool little trinkets that were included in our swag bag, as well as we got a separate line to check into for registration when you arrive at the conference, which was nice because you got through quicker. And then, of course, they had this VIP seating section, which was up closest to the stage, which were kind of like the primo seats in the grand ballroom, and it was nice to have a table that we could go to and enjoy the conference from all throughout the 4 days of the conference. The downside, of course, was, you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, aren't you the snob for getting the VIP seats?" And a lot of people, I'm sure, meant that in jest, but a lot of people. I actually had one person come up to me and accuse me of being given a VIP pass, which of course was not the case. I got online at midnight on the night that VIP passes went on sale, and I was one of the lucky ones that got it. And believe me, folks, I paid for the price for my VIP pass just as everyone else did. So this was something that they had never tried before at PhenomeCon. I know there's a lot of people that felt kind of slighted because they didn't get a chance to get it, and I certainly can understand why they would. So I would hope that this next year that maybe they'll expand the number of VIP passes that they make available. But from my standpoint, and Roger, I'll let you have your 2 cents. But for me, it was definitely worth the extra price. I wasn't sure if it was going to be, but I have to be honest, it was nice to have that. Simply, if for no other reason, for the fact that we weren't fighting for table space, which
We lost you again, Jim.
Right.
was that.
So,
Skinwalker once again.
he has been skinwalkered again.
He's been skinwalkered again.
Yep.
There,
There he
that's
is.
awesome.
There he is.
There.
So anyway, Roger, enough about my thoughts on the VIP passes. What were your thoughts? Was it a worthwhile expense for you?
I will say overall, yes, it was a worthwhile expense for me. And I know that there was a lot of feedback given the process, because when they went on sale midnight Mountain Standard Time, right? And so people from around the world that would want to even, get tickets in a different time zone, it would be either really early, really late, right? And it was first come, first serve. There was no type of lottery system. And so, yeah, I think that, just because they only had 100 VIP tickets available. So I do count myself very lucky in being able to get that. And I do think it was worth it, just being able to be up closer and, listen to the presentations. I do appreciate that they had water and things like that. I would like them next year to expand, the amount of VIP passes. I don't know how feasible that is, just because the conference center in and of itself is a much smaller conference center, and so you can only accommodate so many people there. But yeah, I think it was great. I would like to have at least, because I know that with the Jay Stratton presentation and things like that, there were people that were trying to sneak in through and sit at the VIP tables and things like that. They didn't have a really good monitoring system in place, ushers and things like that, and they didn't and again, this is not a bad thing, but I wish that they would have like refilled the water a little bit more, refilled the snacks and everything, just for the price that we paid for the VIP things. It didn't detract by any means. I could always go get water or snacks and things like that, but I think for the price that you pay, right, just for next year, if they are going to do VIP, it would make it just probably an overall better experience for the people that do have the chance to get VIP tickets. But overall, 100%, I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I think that it was well worth the money.
Right on. So any closing thoughts? We'll kind of wrap up here on how your PhenomeCon 2024 experience went. Anything that you haven't talked about yet that you'd like to mention? Any people that you'd like to give a shout out to? Maybe some new friends that you met, or maybe give a tip of the hat to Bridget and Alicia for the amazing thing that they did. Or
They killed
John?
it this year. They killed it. They were amazing this year. Well, I mean, of course, the thing that made it different for us, honestly, I mean, look at the shirt. that Jeff is wearing right now, right?
Yeah.
That kind of was the background for the entire week. You know, you and I were so busy with band stuff a lot of the time. Like every day we had more stuff to do, whether it's tuning guitars or doing more planning and more last second logistics. And, you know, that just made the whole weekend even more surreal, or the whole week more surreal. It was,
Right.
go for it.
So let's actually finish with that. And I'm glad you brought it up because I totally would have spaced it. So Hitchhiker, right? So John, you and I have talked about it in a couple of solely unexplained episodes prior to this, but this was the time when we all finally came together. Now, for those that don't know, the six of us that are in the Hitchhiker band, myself and John, Jay Stratton, Travis Taylor, Micah Hanks, and Caleb Hanks all got together in Alabama towards the end of August to have our very first rehearsal. And John, leading up to that rehearsal, I don't know about you, but I have to be honest, I had some reservations as to whether or not we'd be able to bring together six people who have never played together as one single unit together, despite the fact that Travis and Jay had been playing together before in their band Hitchhiker, and Micah and Caleb had been playing together.
Yep. Looks like he froze again.
brothers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we were talking
It's
about
not
this
my
shirt.
crappy internet.
Yeah, the shirt right here that I'm currently wearing. And I tell you what, that was cool.
Mhm.
For you guys to be able to do such an awesome event like that. Go ahead. Looks like you're back, Jim.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Skinwalkered yet again. So yeah, just we came together in August. We weren't sure. I wasn't sure how this was going to work. And folks, and John, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but from the very first 2 minutes of rehearsing the very first song that we tried, I knew that this was going to work.
And that was
Because
before Travis even showed up, because we only had Travis for that Saturday. This is on the
Right.
Friday even,
yeah,
but it was just us and Micah Hanks and his brother Caleb. And then Jay, of course. Yeah, that fast. It was like, we might be able to pull this off.
right.
I still wasn't convinced we could do it with essentially one rehearsal. It kind of was two, you know, one with us without Travis, and then the next day with Travis. But that's not much when you've got 27 songs to go over. 27 songs we had to learn, and then go through in a rehearsal, and then remember the little changes and tweaks we made to them
Right.
a few weeks later when we do it live.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, I can only say, you know, Travis is a rock star. Micah Hanks is a freaking rock star. You know, Caleb on drums, you know, and then the rest of us just kind of filling in around them, kind of, you know. And then Jimm, the rock star vocalist, if you watch that video, holy cow, like on Man in a Box. Wow,
I was taken by
unbelievable.
surprise because, folks, when we rehearsed "Man in the Box" by Alice in Chains, I was just doing backup and harmony on that particular song, and Travis, because he's got such a powerful booming voice, was the one that did not only the lead vocal on the verses, but in the choruses as well. And that song is one where the lead singer just belts it out, really, really powerful in the chorus. And so, night of the performance rolls around, and Travis was feeling a little hoarse, and so he pulled me aside right before we went on stage. He's like, "Hey, do you think that you can help me out in the choruses for Man in the Box?" And I was like, wow. Okay. And so I was like, well, okay, I know it's in my range, so I should be able to pull it off, but I've never really belted something out to that extent like, Lane Staley does in the original. And so when it happened, I was just as surprised as anybody that I pulled it off.
And you don't have
And
to
you
pull
did
out
quite
that.
well.
You don't have to pull that out on your synth pop songs, do you?
No, no,
OMD doesn't do that, do they?
yeah, OMD doesn't do the belting out like that, nor does Depeche Mode or any of the others. But yeah, and Jeff, holy cow, we have you to thank for having a
Yes.
record of that
Yes.
performance. And
Yes.
you did such an amazing job. So thank you so much for capturing the magic of that performance on video for us. And I know that all of my bandmates are every bit as grateful and appreciative as I am. Uh, Truly, Jeff, you did a fantastic job capturing those moments. So
Yeah.
thank you.
A
Well,
million
thank you for that. You know, it was kind of weird how it went down. I was hoping that I would get an opportunity to at least video a song or two, or maybe even go live and show a song or two for those folks that did not get a chance to go to PhenomeCon. That's why I went live and walked around and meeting people and all that kind of stuff as well. But then when it came down to it, and they came up to me and they said, or you guys all did, and said, "Hey, they can't provide a camera. They were going to, they can't. Can you do this?" And I said, "Absolutely." Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared with the right equipment, the proper equipment that I would bring to such an event. But I did the best I could with that, with my cell phone on a gimbal. And then, of course, the battery was dying. I wasn't expected to be there doing it for 3 hours. But the battery was dying. Then I had to run over and yeah, get a pack and plug it in and keep the battery going on my cell phone. But I was honored to be able to do that and to bring that to everyone, you know, together the way we did. And to me, it was I was, like I said, I was honored to do it. But I was also I was running on adrenaline that whole time because you guys were rocking it up there. You truly were. I mean, John and Jim, you guys were on spot on this whole thing, from the start to finish. And then, of course, the regular members. You got, you know, Travis and Jay and Caleb and also Micah doing their thing. It was really an honor to do it, and I'm glad that we were able to put it out the way we did and get it out on YouTube for everyone. And I did want to mention too, real quick too, that I did also, I was asked for the insider meet and greet with the Skinwalker Ranch teams. There was those two separate times that we had the meet and greet with them, and they asked me to record that as well. So that is coming. I have it all. Matter of fact, I was working on it earlier today, trying to seam it all together. There was the two different events back to back on that because the room wasn't big enough for everyone. So those are going to be available. I'll get those over to Michelle and the team at Skinwalker Ranch Insiders so they can put that together and show everybody that one as well. But truly, I was honored. I mean, they were uh, to do it. I really was. I mean, I couldn't have expected that to happen to the way it did, but it was so much fun. I mean, oh my gosh, you guys rocked the house. It was so cool to be there and to be right up front doing that filming. It was truly an honor for me.
It was wonderful. I want to say one other thing about that. Uh, you know, Jim made a post about it earlier today on the Insider's site, but we were talking. That was such a special event for a lot of reasons that I don't even want to go into, but people don't understand just the way this went down, the story behind how it all came together, and then the things that were happening in the lives of the people involved just the last few weeks made it very special. And for it to go down the way it did was hell, I'll tear up again. It was people don't understand how special it really was. And so I'll leave that part at that. But then also, we got to see these guys in ways that the public doesn't normally get to see them. And I wanted to say that the after party, you know, I love Travis Taylor. I really love drunk Travis Taylor. That dude is freaking hilarious. But no, I'm serious, totally serious. You get to see these guys, you know, by the end of the night, everyone's tired, everyone's exhausted, everyone's been drinking. The normal kind of walls start to drop, and you just see them how they are. Oh man, it was unbelievably special to see. And these guys have amazing hearts. They are wonderful people, and everyone around them. I mean, Michelle and all the people around that were around Travis and Bryant and everybody else that we saw there. Just wonderful people, and yeah, I'll remember that forever.
I feel the same way. And the one of the things that I mentioned in my post that I made earlier today on the Insider website is one of the things I'm the most grateful for is that I got to see a side of Travis Taylor that most people never get to see that are fans of the show, like myself, even the ones that are fortunate enough to know several of the team members personally, like Roger and I and John and Jeff too. Um, I got to see Travis Taylor, the human being, and I wish that more people could see that Travis truly is, in addition to being an absolutely brilliant scientist and a incredibly gifted musician and artist, he's also just a really good, decent, compassionate, and kind human being. And I got to see that side of him for a little bit between our visits to Alabama and all the way up to, as you said, John, the after party. And uh, I wouldn't trade that experience for all the gold and all the riches in the world because it allowed me to get to know Travis and Jay and Micah, three men who I already greatly admired and appreciated for what they do in their professional lives. But it gave me the opportunity to get to know them as human beings.
Mhm.
And that is a gift that I will never be able to express enough gratitude for. And being welcomed into the Stratton's home, getting to know Jay and Michelle and
And their
the
dogs.
and their dogs, especially their dog Brianna, who, I think I'm already going to be joined at the hip with.
She
um,
adores Jim.
that's a fun story in and of itself because Brianna doesn't like anybody, but she curled right up next to me and well, it was a lot of fun to to get to see that happen. But but no, it was this whole opportunity to perform with Hitchhiker. Uh, and again, I'm somebody who's dedicated my whole adult life to music. I was a member of the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences for several years. I've attended the Grammy Awards at least a half dozen times. I've had the opportunity to open for some of my biggest music heroes in my various bands that I've been in through the years. And I've done some pretty cool things in my life as a musician and as a producer. I've rubbed elbows with some of the legends in the music business and across every conceivable genre. None of that compares to what I experienced on stage with Travis Taylor, Jay Stratton, John Neiberger, Micah, and Caleb Hanks this past Saturday. And I mean that most sincerely.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to unpack it all. I'm still trying to
Me too.
process it because I just for those of you that don't know, I actually had reached the point in my career where I was basically planning on giving up on music, uh, mainly because I'd lost the hearing in my left ear by way of an accident a couple years ago, which meant that I couldn't produce music at a professional level because I can't hear the frequencies naturally anymore. So I had that happen. And as May can attest to, by way of the weekly radio show that I do, and also my own music project that I had, I was subjected to a great deal of torment and abuse and harassment from people. And when you deal with that for year after year after year, it wears you down. And when my mom and dad had finally passed away, I had reached the point where I didn't want to do music anymore. I'd given up. I just didn't want to do anything. And I was actually contemplating selling all of my synthesizers and all of my recording equipment, all of the music gear that I had spent decades accumulating because I didn't see a future for me in it anymore. And it brought me down to a very, very low place, a very low point in my life. And my dad wrote a letter for me before he passed away. And he left me the instructions to read that letter after he had passed. And So about a month or so after my dad passed, I read the letter. And I won't bore you with the details, but my dad told me in that letter that he wanted to see me to continue doing music because he knew how much joy and pleasure that it brought me. He knew that music was what made my heart beat, if you will. And the only thing that I loved more than music was my wife and my children. And he knew that. And he knew how desperately I was struggling with staying involved in music in some way, shape, or form. And I I'd given up. I was ready to walk away from having devoted my life to it. And my dad's last request in his this letter to me was to please don't give it up. Please find a way to rediscover what it is that excites you and drives you and inspires you to want to make music and to get up on stage and perform it for people. Because you're always going to come across people that don't understand and that don't get what you're doing. People that can't figure out why you like synthesizers and synth pop so much. But you're also going to come across people who you don't know how your music is going to touch their lives. And I just wasn't feeling it when I read that letter, but something told me that I needed to follow my dad's advice. And so I very reluctantly, over the next few weeks, I reconnected with some of my friends and some of my former bandmates that I hadn't made music with in years. And we decided to get together and see if there was any magic left in the tank, as it were. And out of that came the band that I'm currently in, which is a new wave 80s tribute band called Flynn's Arcade. And I got back into doing music again and performing, and I found out I reignited that spark that I thought I had lost. But when this opportunity to be a part of Hitchhiker came about, I don't want to sound silly or stupid in saying this, but it's almost like my dad. If I could have seen my dad would have been standing on the other side of the veil, pointing to me, going, "See, I told you, I told you, this is what one of those things that was waiting for you." And had I followed my original course and given up and walked away from music, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to share the stage with Travis Taylor and with Jay Stratton and with this amazing gentleman right here, John Neiberger, and and Caleb and Micah as well. And when I say that when I was playing with these guys on stage this last Saturday, it felt like I had been playing with them all of my life because we were playing off each other. It was almost like we could read each other's minds at different points during the performance. And looking over and seeing Jay Stratton with that big old smile on his face, uh, I wouldn't trade that for all the riches in the world. And then to have Travis Taylor come over and give me a hug and high five and tell me that I effing nailed it after we finished Man in the Box. These are memories that will last and stay with me for all of my life, all of my days. And I am so grateful that I had the opportunity that Michelle Stratton voluntold me that I was going to be a part of the band because again, folks, my background purely synthesizers, electronic music, synth pop, new wave, industrial. I mean, that's the background that I came from. And I've been doing that for the better part of 30 plus years. Now, I've always been a fan of bands like AC/DC and Motley Crue and Bon Jovi and all that. But if you had told me even a year ago that I'd be playing that kind of music on stage with this amazing bunch of gentlemen, I wouldn't have believed it. And yet here I am, and now I've done it, and I can't wait to do it again. I mean, truly, it was one of the proudest moments of my life as a musician, and just as me. I mean, I it's right up there with some of the happiest and most joyous moments of my life, and I have Jay Stratton, Michelle Stratton, Travis Taylor, John Neiberger, Micah Hanks, and Caleb Hanks to thank for it. And nothing I say or do, I feel, can ever repay that tremendous debt of gratitude that I have for all of them, and for you as well, Jeff, for catching it all on video and being able to have that moment with so many of my friends there. And Roger being appointed the unofficial bartender for Hitchhiker.
Oh yeah.
It was great to have you there as well. And to all the people that were there at PhenomeCon that were cheering us on and yelling, again, that just all coalesced into this most amazing experience that I will carry with me for the rest of my days. And I truly, sincerely hope this isn't the only shot that I get. And if it is, then know that I will cherish it and remember it for as long as I live. And I'm sorry for going on so long, but any other thoughts about Hitchhiker? Mae, what was one of your favorite moments when Hitchhiker were playing?
There's this tambourine.
Oh, don't even.
I
still have the bruises and the sprained thumb from that damn tambourine.
Yeah, I just loved seeing you guys up there, and you guys were just really enjoying yourself. And I also loved when you realized I was trying to get some pictures of you, and you would like turn and do some. It was hard to get one of John from the other side because he was kind of tucked back in there, but I was able to do that. And but no, it was great. And I know that Jimm has said before of me and my supporting independent artists and local bands. He once said in a very very flowery post praising me for being the synth pop ambassador of the year. One of the things that stuck out is he said, "Mae will travel thousands of miles just to go see somebody play," and that's pretty much. Kevin says, it's you would travel 2 days to see someone be on the stage for 1 hour, but it was 3 hours. So I think we got our money's worth.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
Starting at 9 o'clock at night.
And it ran late, and I was just so glad that Jeff was streaming it all, because we do have one mutual friend, Darwin McD, who I had let him know. I was like, hey, this is going to be streamed. And he had it playing the entire time. And he says he really enjoyed it. So I was glad that
And Jeff, I've got family who couldn't make it.
Wow.
My 84-year-old mom
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have been able to see that if you hadn't recorded it.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was able to watch it. So
That's really cool. Thank you for mentioning
thank
that.
you so
Yeah.
much.
Jeff, what was one of your favorite moments of Hitchhiker on stage?
Oh my gosh. Boy, I loved Man in the Box. That one was really, really good. Sweet Home Alabama was another great one that you guys played. And if you notice, I took a clip of I just did the clip of just the song Freckles on Her Butt. She's pretty. And I put that song on a clip and put it out there, and I got it. It's not being monetized because I don't have the rights to that, but I put that out there, and that was a cool song. I really enjoyed that one a
cute.
lot. But I guess for me, it was one of the big things for me was knowing that you guys had only played together. That was the second time
Yeah.
you guys played together as a band. And what you pulled off there that night was professional. I mean, you guys did a fantastic job. I'm I play guitar myself and have been in rock bands back in the 80s and stuff, but I've also done sound a lot. And at times I was really wishing that I could get on the soundboard and make some adjustments because but
Yeah.
then again,
We were all wishing the same thing.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I
No comment. No comment.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
done sound for 6 or 7 years for bands but I tell you what, honestly, but throwing that all together in the
Mhm.
way that it was, you had equipment coming from Salt Lake, you had equipment coming from Alabama, you had all, and trying to throw this together at a conference when the people there at the conference are good. Don't get me wrong, they're very good with all of that. And then trying to throw all this together, chords laying everywhere. It was a wonderful mess. but you guys rocked the house. And that's what I took away from the entire thing was, even though my arms were getting tired holding the camera and going around, I was loving every single minute of being there and doing it. It was really, and seeing you two guys, yeah, I got to meet Jay, I got to meet Travis, I got to meet Caleb and also Micah. But I know you guys really well. And to see you guys up there with the smiles on your face, and there's John on the bass, got his hat on and he's wearing it, his glasses, he's rocking it. And you were out there in the white and the hat and everything and rocking it. It was just, the whole experience was a special treat for me, quite honestly. I could go on and on, but I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Thanks. Mae, how about you? What was one of your favorite moments?
Oh, well, I said the tambourine earlier, but I also love the hat changes.
Oh, well, of course. Well, you can tell I'm still missing some sleep. Roger, how about you? What aside from being from kicking people out of the beer cart, which I saw you doing on more than one occasion, so good job on that. But what were some of your favorite moments of the performance, Raj?
I just from the vantage point that I had being next to the stage, kind of backstage there, it was just seeing the camaraderie of all of you guys up there on stage and nodding to each other and then smiling. And, once the song ended, just hearing the comments like you guys rocked it. And so seeing that, but also just looking out into the audience and seeing everybody just rocking out and jamming and honestly just having a really good time. I mean, it was such a special experience and it was just fun. It's something that like you said, Jimm, earlier, it's a special experience, something that I will treasure for the rest of my days, just being able to know that I was there and watching you guys play. And I do have to do a special call out again to Jeff for recording that. So my wife was like very, very happy that she could actually watch the concert from home. And she is now singing every day, Freckles on her butt. And so yeah, that's the new song of the house. So no, but it was just amazing. And yeah, like you guys came together and you never would have known that you guys had just had one or two practice sessions together and having it all come together. And I do want to do a special shout out to Brent and Rob, who are our friends, Jimm, your bandmates that came out and helped us set up. It truly was through their efforts that we were able to get all of the equipment done and set up and taken down really quick. So sometimes when you're behind the scenes, you don't get to see the people that do that make a lot of the difference. So shout out to those two individuals.
Right on. Could not agree more. Rob and Brent were awesome. It was so good to have them there as part of the experience. John, I know there's a lot of takeaways. What were some of your favorite moments performing on stage?
Well, I mean, Man in the Box, just we nailed that first time through in practice, and we're like, holy crap,
Right?
that
Yeah.
one hits hard. Is like we already had that, so that one was great. Song wise, Cumbersome, it has a bass part. There's a spot in Cumbersome where Micah and I double each other for just one lick, and I didn't really notice it live because it was kind of hard to hear up there, but on the recording I heard it, I'm like, holy crap. So I've listened to that like 20 times now because we were like super in sync, even better than we did it in practice. And I'm like, that was amazing. And it's literally like 3 seconds long, but I'm like, that worked out pretty well. Yeah, I mean, there were so many good moments, but I gotta say, Simple Man
Right.
for reasons.
Yeah. No doubt. And for those that don't know, Simple Man was a song that Travis's one of his best friends named Roger had passed away just about a week and a half before PhenomeCon. And his friend Roger had asked Travis to perform that at his funeral, which he did. And so this particular song, this Simple Man by Leonard Skinner, had very deep significance personally for Travis. And we weren't sure if we were actually going to play it. We rehearsed it while we were in Alabama, so we were all familiar with it, but we weren't sure if we were going to perform it. And when Travis said that he was going to perform it, we all
I was
felt
surprised.
that lump in our throats. And
I was
so
surprised.
Travis gave that his all, and it was an honor to be able to share that moment and be up there on stage with the band performing that.
So good.
And then Jeff, you had mentioned Sweet Home Alabama. We never even rehearsed that. That was completely spontaneous.
Oh my gosh, that's unreal because you guys nailed that song.
That
And
sounded great. And
it was
Jay
that
just
was
said, do it.
yeah, that was just one of those demonstrations of we all just knew the song, we knew how it went, we knew how to put it together, and it just happened. It was just one of those magic moments where Jay started the riff, that amazing riff that opens up the song. And when Micah comes in on the harmony, that first harmony bit with Travis, oh my gosh, nailed it. And that, in a nutshell, summed up what it was like playing with this band. It all just coalesced and came together.
That's
And
when
that
we practiced that. We never planned it. And that
never
ended up
discussed
one of
it.
the better sounding songs of the night.
Yeah,
It sounded
That's
like
awesome.
you'd worked
Right.
it out. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention too, we
what
didn't
key
really
is it
say
in,
too
you
much.
know?
Yeah, we really didn't say too much about Jay Stratton and his playing. And you see somebody, and I saw him in his presentation that we all saw, and you very quiet, reserved man, and very dedicated to what he's doing. And then to see him up there with a guitar and he's up there rocking it and he's smiling. He's got that huge smile on his face.
right.
He's having the best time in the world doing what he loves to do. And he's just awesome. I mean, to me, that was one of my highlights too, is watching him doing his thing and pitching out guitar picks. And I got one of them too. He gave one to me at the end, and it's just
Yeah.
that was really a treat. Jay was on spot with that night as well, like all of you were. And so I definitely got to give kudos to him for the way he played and the enjoyment. That's something that we always said as band members. If the band is having a good time, the audience is having a good time, and you guys
Exactly.
were having a great time, and we were
And
having
we
a great
were having a good time.
Thanks
No,
for the reminder, Jeff, about the guitar picks, because Jay Stratton came up to Kevin and me after, when we were waiting for everything to get broken down. And he had asked Kevin, he's like, "You play?" And Kevin says, "Well, I try, I kind of do." So he handed him a pick, and he handed one to me too. And it is still in the pocket of my dress in wherever my dirty laundry in the car is right now. So I need to remember to take that out before
Yeah,
I,
you don't want to lose that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not something you want to run through the washing machine, May.
exactly. It may survive the wash. I don't put stuff in the dryer, so I mean, at least it won't melt. But yeah,
Yeah.
For me, my favorite moments of the performance were Rockstar. And the reason why I enjoyed Rockstar so much is Jay Stratton he challenged me in a way that only Jay can. And he's like, you got to get the timing right, because I was supposed to do the Billy Gibbons, the spoken word parts of Rockstar. And during rehearsal, I was always getting the timing wrong. Like I just couldn't get it right. So I worked on it for, a week and a half to make sure that I had it down cold. I went so far as to write out a little cheat sheet and taped it to the top of my Roland Juno X to make sure that I would get it right. And so when the time came for the performance, I made sure that I nailed it. And it was so funny because you can see a point in that video when Jay turns and looks at me and he's kind of like, "All right, you got it." And for me, that was like such a, "All right, I did it." So Rockstar was a favorite point for me because Travis and I also harmonized on the choruses for Rockstar, and I feel we really did good on that. But Man in the Box, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to pull it off and nail it like Travis did in rehearsal with the chorus. So that one,
It-
like John says, we rocked it really hard. And I don't know where that power came from in my voice, but it was there when we needed it. I loved doing Sweet Home Alabama. I love doing what is it? I love doing Knocking on Heaven's Door in Paradise City, and of course Freckles on Her Butt.
Yeah.
I think Travis needs to re-record that and release that as a single because it's a hit. It's a
Yeah, I
hit.
do too.
You can't listen to Freckles on Her Butt and not find yourself humming the chorus, that the hook from that chorus hours later. So
It's true. It's true.
so yeah, it was just an amazing experience, and I'm so grateful that all of you there were there to experience it with me. And Jeff,
Yep.
again, to capture it on film, what a treat and what a blessing. So wow, that's all that I can say is wow. It really happened, and I'm still trying to unpack it and process it, but just talking about it with all of you guys tonight just reinforces with me that it wasn't just this crazy lucid dream that I had, that it really did
Right.
happen.
Nope, you were
And
there. I
All
got it. I
hallucinated.
got it on film.
and we were all there. So
And
Yep.
you too.
that's right.
Yep.
So I just want to, in closing, just issue a massive thank you to all four of you, to Roger and to John and to Mae and to Jeff. Thank you for taking time out of your Friday night to be here to talk about PhenomeCon, and what a great experience it was. Thank you for just being the awesome people that you are, the wonderful spirit that you bring to this amazing friendship that I have with each of you. Massive thanks to Bridget and Alicia and all the folks that plan
Yep. Amen.
PhenomeCon and to make it happen. Big tip of the hat to Tom Winterton for it was PhenomeCon was all his idea, and it's become truly the can't miss event of the year. And I'm so glad that he was forward thinking enough to make his vision a reality, because it's brought so many people together. And I wouldn't have this amazing friendship with you, Jeff, or with you, John, had it not been for PhenomeCon. And so many other people that I've met through PhenomeCon that are now good, close friends, like Dennis Clark and Ann Campbell, and uh,
Mm.
just I know I'm going to forget people, Cheryl Carter, just so many people that have been such wonderful friends and brought such a wonderful light into my life that I would not have met had it not been for PhenomeCon. And of course, to all of my Hitchhiker
Yep.
bandmates, thank you for letting me hitchhike on with the band. Thank you to Michelle and to Jay and to Travis, Micah and Caleb, and to you, John. Just nothing, my heart is literally overflowing with gratitude, love, and appreciation for all of you. And I think I've talked too much already, so I'll leave it at there. And we'll start with closing thoughts from you, Roger. We'll go down the line.
Yeah, no, just a massive shout out to our subscribers and listeners. Thank you so much for listening in and tuning in. And we definitely enjoy making these podcasts for you. And massive shout out to John, Mae, and Jeff for joining us tonight and sharing your thoughts. And again, what an amazing time that we had at PhenomeCon. And Bridget and Alicia and your teams for putting that on, and for Thomas for his being a visionary, like Jimm said, and getting that made so many great friends, and continue to look forward to all the great talks and everything that we have coming up over the course of the next year until we can get back together for PhenomeCon 2025. But with that, it's been a pleasure speaking to all of you tonight, and thank you for all the great commentary, and I really appreciate it. And I hope everybody that listens to this has a phenomenal weekend, and I hope our guests here on the show have a phenomenal weekend. And I will close with that.
John,
I don't even know what to say at this point. But
beer.
yeah,
When in doubt, say beer.
I had more beer at the after party than I've had in like the last year. Well, between the show and the after party. That was great. But no, I think it was a wonderful week. I mean, band stuff aside, just the seeing friends again, getting to meet Roger in person, seeing the other, friends of ours like Annie, Marilee, Miriam, you name it, Dennis. I mean, everybody. It's wonderful. And I am seriously suffering withdrawals from it. And I definitely need to get the digital media because I missed so many good speakers that I wanted to see. And I can't wait for next year. Like, can't wait. A
Right
year
on.
is too long.
May.
Oh, quick, before I lose my internet again. I don't know. I'm getting your internet connection is unstable. So I don't know. Everyone is frozen, but I don't know if people can hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, good. The biggest thing that when we talked about who we forgot, forgetting things, that's why we need the video. The only thing I actually jotted down in that little notebook, I think it was Eric Bard. I'd have to go look back because I really enjoyed what he had to say. But one of the things he said was people are more passionate about their disbelief systems than they are about their belief systems. And I think that was a really, really poignant thing to say, especially when you see how big, how PhenomeCon sold out this year. And so I thought that was very interesting and, something to keep in mind when you talk to people.
Right
And
on.
I can't wait to do it again. I mean, I am tired. I'm dried out. The altitude is killing me. I've reached that point where Irma Bombeck says, when you start to look like your passport, it's time to go home. I have reached travel ugly, but I can't wait to do it again.
And May, I have to offer sincerest thanks and gratitude for the little care package that you and Kevin brought me. The root beer was the first thing to go because everybody knows that I'm a big root beer connoisseur. So I love the root beer. These crazy chile limon chips were different, but I liked them. And just everything else in that care package
They
is
burned my mouth.
gone. So thank you for the wonderful care package from Texas.
And did I
Jeff,
put freeze-dried Skittles in that one also?
you sure did.
Because
And
so there you go. You got more.
my daughter appropriated them, and I think I've had 3, and she finished off the rest. So
Oh, you had some at PhenomeCon, so you're good.
I did. Jeff, how about you?
Well, I tell you, it was like I mentioned early on, it was the best one yet, in my opinion, the best PhenomeCon yet that I had experienced, and that was my third one. Missed the first, that was my third one. Bridget and her team, fantastic. The speakers were fantastic. The after party with the concert was just blows my mind still to this moment. And I tell you honestly, I can't wait for PhenomeCon 2025. Be there.
Yes. And so I just can only add an amen to everything you just said, Jeff. Cannot wait for PhenomeCon 2025. So, Jeff, tell our subscribers and our viewers how they can find JFree906 on YouTube.
Well, that's pretty much it. You go out to YouTube, you can go to the little question mark box up there, the little search bar, and put in JFree906. It'll take you out there. I'm kind of working on trying to get everything categorized a little bit better in there. 'Cause, I've got the Bigfoot that we're doing season 5 right now and getting all that together. So I've got everything pretty well categorized in the podcast realm out there. But man, I can't believe how many videos are on that entire thing. We've been doing it for 4 years now, just coming up on 4 years. But yeah, if you want to go out there and check it out, I was just looking over here. We got over 10,000 views, 10,500 views on just the concert, which was awesome.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, so and that's kind of like my highlight on that, is to be able to share that one for sure. And even though it was 3 hours long, yeah, 2 hours and 53 minutes, but yeah, really a great time. And that's how you can find me out there. And of course, one day I'd like to do a little put together like a network if we could. You've heard different coast to coasts and all these different kind of things. I'd like to have like a network at some point where we have your show, our show. There's several other people that I would like to include in that and put together like a little network. It will mean that you're going to have to be dedicated to doing a show every week or so, you know. So,
That would be
but yeah,
awesome.
I'd like to do that at some point and see what people think about it.
Oh, heck yeah. I don't want to speak for Roger, but count me in, man. Anything that you're a part of, I would love to be a part of. So for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, me too.
Appreciate that.
Right on. Well, thank you, folks. Thank you for tuning in today to this PhenomeCon recap episode of The Soul of the Unexplained. Roger and I will be back soon with another exciting episode of who knows what. We'll figure something out. But we're anxious to get back on the saddle and bring you more new content for The Soul of the Unexplained. If you liked what you saw, hit that subscribe button down there somewhere, wherever it is, and tell your friends. And also find us and Jeff over on Facebook as well. We'd love to hear from you, and feel free to let us know what your thoughts were. And if you attended PhenomeCon, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. What did you like? What did you love? What was kind of meh? We want to hear all about it because we love PhenomeCon. So with that, folks, love one another, take care of one another, be nice to bunnies, and eat as many tacos as you can get your hands on because life is just too short. So enjoy tacos with your friends and with the people that you love. And do that, and you will find at least some modicum of happiness in your life. I guarantee it. And that's all we got, folks. We will see you next time right here on The Soul of the Unexplained. See ya. Hit the stop button, Jim.